In world news, Hitler and his goons just couldn't get enough pierogi back in Berlin, so they're marching straight to the source, directly into Warsaw. Meanwhile, back in Hollywood, the movie houses are charging a wang-dang 23 cents per ticket to see their big new Technicolor picture about a wizard, a dog, and a girl with a taste for gingham. I guess no one told those suits over at MGM about the Great Depression. But if talking tin cans and flying broomsticks aren't your bag, well, Mr. Goldwyn is trotting out his prize show pony, Mr. Olivier, to breathe life back into the timeless Bronte classic, Wuthering Heights. If you want to know how high they are and just what's so wuthering about them, well, I guess you'll have to buy a ticket to find out. Step right up. This is the Screen Hoppers. This is the podcast where we travel through time and try to see the biggest blockbusters of all time. But today we are changing formats because Michael won a wager, I lost a wager, and we have instead traveled to the year of Michael's choosing. What's up, Michael? How you doing? I'm going to take these off because they're not real glasses.
They're not real?
No,
Do you have real ones?
I can't see anything. No.
Yeah.
I'm going to put on the real ones and then put on my headphones. You're doing good?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to be in 1939 is the year that I chose because that's the year that my favorite movie came out.
You took us in the Wayback Machine for this one. I had to buy props and costume items just to make this work. It is a fake cigar, everybody. I'm not giving Michael lung cancer.
You know, I almost would have, dealt with the secondhand smoke and appreciated the authenticity if you would have just lit up in here.
I considered it. So yeah, you brought us to 1939. What? Tell me why.
So the movie that I chose, because I was given carte blanche to choose anything, is The Wizard of Oz, because I love the movie, and given our normal format, we would never have a chance to watch it together.
No, we don't do anything pre-1975. And you did this because, once again, you beat me at our Oscar ballot.
I did. I
15
beat you
to 16.
by one, and I think every year it's by one.
It's almost always by one, and it seems to be VFX, which takes me down every year.
Every year because you refuse to
just pick
appreciate
the obvious
Avatar. Yeah.
No, it's not even. I liked Avatar. I went and saw Avatar. Did you even see it?
I didn't even see it.
You didn't see it. And I even kind of liked it.
Yeah.
No, I just literally was like, the VFX in F1 are so well hidden.
No, I mean, I wish you were right. I wish I lost because of VFX.
Yeah.
But
I didn't even think I was voting with my heart. Again, I was just like, the VFX in this are perfect.
Yeah. And 1939 is, it's considered one of those like great years in Hollywood.
I saw, it is like the golden year of Hollywood. The movies that came out this year are like, they're all classics.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I watched a ton of 1930s movies for a paper that I was writing.
What was the paper on?
It was, I'm not going to be able to do it justice anymore because it was so long ago. But it was basically about how in the 1930s during the Great Depression, Hollywood entered its golden age because it was like accessible entertainment. It was like the one thing people could still afford to do was go to the movies. And so I watched a bunch of movies at the time. And so I've seen, a bunch of the movies that came out in the 30s, but it was so long ago. But I had not seen the movie you ended up picking.
Yeah, I went with Wuthering Heights because I hadn't seen it either, but I also chose it because we have a new adaptation of Wuthering Heights by Emerald Fennell with Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi this year. And so I really was curious what it was about that story that makes it so relevant in 1939, but also so relevant in 2026, which felt like it matched really well because your love of The Wizard of Oz, we have some remakes, revisitings, rehashings of the story in Wicked and Wicked for Good.
Yeah, and it's playing at the Sphere in Las Vegas right now.
I keep saying the Sphere. It's
Sphere.
Sphere. That's its name.
And so
I'm not the Ian.
So Wizard of Oz is obviously a movie that's had staying power. Wuthering Heights is a story that's had staying power, because it's based on the Emily Bronte book that came out long before 1939.
Have you ever read the book?
No, I haven't.
Have you read any Bronte?
I have not.
No Bronte for you? I studied literature, and I also have never read a Bronte. I had to do Jane Austen, and then, lots of Shakespeare, of course. But no, I never touched a Bronte before.
Yeah, none of the Brontes.
None of the Brontes. I've never read a Bronte.
And so it is interesting. We'll talk about the movie because it does still feel relevant. I get why we would revisit it.
I was shocked. I like it was so weird to watch a film made in 1939 based on an 18th century, 19th century Gothic novel. When did that novel come out? I should probably know that. I'll look that up while you
why do I want to say like 1880-ish? And so, good choice. I like that you went that route. It's not where I expected you to go. And so it was fun to revisit. I like the old stuff. So, the opportunity to travel in the way back machine, make the time machine, put in some miles, is something that I really enjoyed.
1847.
1847.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I knew that it was earlier than that. No, it's funny. We have this self-imposed edict to only watch movies after 1979 or 75. I love classic film.
Yeah.
Like I would totally do a podcast on classic film.
Yeah.
I don't know why we did this to ourselves,
Back
but here
when
we
we
are
were,
in way too deep.
Yeah, back when we were doing like our movie club where we weren't recording, we were just chatting. We often would pick older stuff.
Yeah, we saw Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, I remember.
Watched Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Boulevard. Oh my God, that
so
movie's
great.
so good. Billy Wilder's the best. We should just do a Billy Wilder series. Just all Billy Wilder all the time. What we do is we watch all of his movies and then we watch them again. What do you think?
It sounds great.
And we call it Who's Wild for Wilder?
I am.
Who's Wilder for Wilder? I'm Wilder for Wilder. How are you Wilder for Wilder? I'll stop saying it now. That idea is out in the ether now. If you heard it and you love it, steal it. I'll listen to your podcast.
You listen to a dozen or so episodes of Wilder for Wilder.
Oh, more than a dozen.
Yeah.
You can just keep watching the movies over and over again on loop, and I'll watch them all with you. Although I will admit, Some Like It Hot is probably my least favorite of his movies.
We watched that one too.
Did we?
We did.
Are you sure?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Maybe because it's one of my least favorites. I just was for No, we watched The Apartment.
I thought we watched both.
No, we did The Apartment and we did Sunset Boulevard.
Maybe
we did not
watched.
You might have just watched it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I just don't love that movie. I like the ending, but
I like it. It's a fun movie.
It's probably my least favorite Jack Lemmon movie too. And Jack Lemmon's like one of my absolute favorites.
He's so great.
Oh my God.
I used to have a beagle named Jack.
After Jack what?
After Jack Lemmon.
After Jack Lemmon?
Yeah, because we originally thought we were going to get a lemon beagle and then ended up not getting a lemon beagle and then just kept the name Jack.
Oh, okay. I was probably like the only 12-year-old whose favorite actor was Jack Lemmon. Like I probably completely disconnected me from the entire world.
Yeah. Kim loves the grumpy old men movies.
Oh, they're great. They're fun. They're fun. Not as good as like The Odd Couple, but it's all right. I saw this Onion headline the other day, and it was like, dad teaches child to be cool, but also completely like socially or culturally disconnects her from her peers. And it shows him like handing her a Talking Heads LP. And I was like, oh, that's what happened to me when I was a kid.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to end up doing that to my kids.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I was like, but Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
Have you seen Spartacus? I love Groucho Marx.
You do love Groucho Marx.
Oh my God. I mean, Groucho Marx. Yes. Groucho Marx is one of my favorite performers of all time. Are you a Marx fan or?
I haven't consumed that much Marx, but what I have, yes, I do enjoy.
Okay. Well, we're going to have to fix that. When you say I haven't consumed that much Marx, I don't know which ones I haven't seen.
I feel like this intro has basically just convinced you that we need to throw out the entire concept of the podcast and start watching a bunch of old stuff.
Or start a spinoff. We watch old stuff. Or Wilder for Wilder.
Wilder.
I'm telling you, yeah.
Grouchy for Groucho.
I'm not grouchy for Groucho. I'm elated for Groucho. I don't know how to get there on an alliteration. I am gregarious for Groucho. It's a bit of a stretch.
You, gregarious.
Well, at any rate, what else was out in 1939? So we watched The Wizard of Oz. We hopped. We movie house hopped. That really wasn't a thing back then because all the movie houses had one screen. But we hopped from Wuthering Heights to The Wizard of Oz, or vice versa. What did we miss?
We could have also seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Classic.
I did watch that one back in high school.
And we've done a Capra on here because like our love for Capra runs deep.
Stagecoach.
Haven't seen that one.
I haven't.
Or if I have,
either.
It's been so long that I wouldn't remember.
Gone with the Wind.
Definitely seen that multiple times.
bringing it back to the theme of the podcast, is like the number one box office movie.
It actually
ever.
is. Yeah. If you adjust for inflation and you don't go from 1975 forward, this is the number one film of all time.
Yeah. We have Of Mice and Men, which I like. The Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Hound of the Baskervilles, which I think is the first Sherlock Holmes. Might have been early.
I'm doing
Sherlock
a very
Holmes.
poor job as an English major right now.
And Young Mr. Lincoln, which I am unfamiliar with, but I assume is about Abraham Lincoln whilst young.
You know what? Mr. Holmes, well deducted.
Yes. And so lots of movies there, and a lot that people still watch, right? Like Of Mice and Men is a movie people revisit. Stagecoach is considered a classic. Gone with the Wind, obviously, we just discussed, is huge.
Classic. I watched that one recently.
Yeah.
It's interesting when you watch it now, it comes with like a preface from TCM about like the racist tropes.
Like, gives you the little disclaimer.
And I'm not here to upset the internet, but like when I watch that movie, I'm not going to say that there aren't racist tropes in it, but when you watch that movie, the white people are the bad people.
Yeah. And also,
I'm like, this movie makes white people look terrible.
It takes place in the antebellum South. I think I could have like assumed that maybe the attitudes then were not.
But again, this is like the Seinfeld argument. I don't watch Seinfeld and think, oh, I want to be like these people. I watch them and I'm entertained by them. When I watch Gone with the Wind, I'm not like, oh, Scarlett O'Hara, I want to be like you.
I want to adopt your attitudes.
Oh yeah. Oh, Rhett Butler, you're such a hero of mine. Like, oh, Ashley, what an upstanding citizen you are. No, they're kind of all pretty terrible people.
Yeah.
And like Hattie McDaniel, wins the Oscar for that. And she's like the only good person in the whole movie.
Yeah.
She's the only person who doesn't suck. So yes, there are people with racist attitudes. Is the movie racist? I don't know.
Yeah. Disney does that to a lot of their old stuff too. When you like stream it on Disney Plus, you get the little disclaimer. It's
when
like,
you watch
this
the
was
Muppets
made back in the day.
Yeah, the Muppet Show has it.
Yeah, which I don't know.
The old one, not the new one that Seth Rogen and Sabrina Carpenter did. Because
Sabrina Carpenter just wasn't
came out and did
hurling slurs
and did a bunch of jokes about East Indians loving curry. Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like we could respect audiences to understand that things come out in a time and place, but
everybody's trying to protect themselves. I know it's difficult, and it's like I get it. I get why they do it. They're sort of covering themselves, but on the flip side, I mean, we live in a world in which there's like historical context, and like, that's okay. And, and the funny thing too is like in 100 years, people are gonna be like, this was made in 2026.
Like, oh, that Screen Hoppers podcast is problematic.
When social attitudes towards, what have we been mean about?
I don't know. We still eat meat.
I don't.
I know you don't, but as a society, we do.
All right. So you picked The Wizard of Oz because it's your favorite. I picked Wuthering Heights because I was both intrigued by its sudden relevance again, especially because it's a movie that has gotten such poor reviews, but seems to be so well received by audiences.
I think like the number 3 box office movie so far this year.
I think so.
A couple $100 million. Like it's done really well for an R-rated drama.
It's done great. And audience scores are high, despite critics thinking that it is vapid.
My mom hated it.
Oh, your mom went and saw it?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, I wouldn't expect someone of her generation to like it. I don't think it's really made for them.
No. Yeah. It's certainly not.
She doesn't seem like the prime demographic for Emerald Fennell's Wuthering Heights. Had she seen any other Emerald Fennell movies?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think like we're old for Emerald Fennell movies, so
it does feel that. When I watched Saltburn, I felt old watching it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been quite the juggernaut, if you will. And so I haven't seen that one. I will say, we'll get into the movie in detail, but I am more interested to see the new adaptation now than I was prior to watching the 1939 version.
I am too, again, because I was surprised at how relevant the story felt that, adapted from an, 1850s novel into a 1939 film with Laurence Olivier, David Niven. Like these aren't things that I generally expect to have any kind of cultural resonance.
Yeah.
In 2026, but for me, it absolutely did.
Yeah, the two movies together are also an interesting pairing because I think they both talk a little bit about class and things like that, and so
a little bit,
just a smidge.
Well, we'll get into it. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's
take a break.
Let's take a break.
Let's take a break.
Yeah, we're going to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to start off with The Wizard of Oz, I think.
Sure.
And then we'll get into Wuthering Heights and we'll break them down. We'll talk a little bit about the cast, talk a little bit about the production. We will do a close read of some of the scenes, do a little dissecting, and then we'll rate them, see what we thought of them.
We'll rate them.
All right. Well, we will be back shortly with more of the Screen Hoppers. Welcome back to the Screen Hoppers. I'm here with Michael, and we are in 1939 to watch Wuthering Heights and The Wizard of Oz. We're going to start by dissecting The Wizard of Oz. Michael, you're going to lead this discussion, as I promised in our prior episode, because you love this movie.
I do.
I respect this movie.
I made the decision going into this very deliberately. I am not going to try to convince you that this is the best movie of all time.
And I'm actually annoyed at that. I wish that you would try to convince me. I want to be convinced. I want to have love for this movie. I think my review that I wrote on Letterboxd was somewhere over the rainbow, there's a version of me that genuinely is transported by this movie. I just don't know where that version of me is. I don't know if I'm definitely not a movie cynic.
You're not a movie cynic. And if I'm being
I'm a cynic about many other topics.
If I'm being completely honest about the movie, I think if I tried to go in here and make the case for The Wizard of Oz as the all-time greatest movie, I would fail in that task.
Yeah. This movie is beloved by the world over.
Yeah. And I think it is a great movie.
David Lynch, obsessed with this movie. Yeah. And I'm obsessed with David Lynch, which is also why I feel so disconnected from I want to love this.
Yeah. But I do. I love this movie. Some of that is definitely nostalgia, right? This was the movie that my parents had to buy new VHS tapes for every so often because I would wear them out. I love this movie because it does so much and it does them all well, right? It has great special effects, memorable musical numbers. It is funny. It is scary. I think anyone can watch it and enjoy it, right? It is the type of movie that I think is universally likable and easy to recommend.
I mean, it's one of the most watched films, by the human population of all time.
Yeah, I believe I read that it has it was the first movie pre a certain year to hit 1 million reviews on Letterboxd. It's very widely watched and adored. We talked about it having cultural relevance. I love this movie, but it's not perfect. It's not without its issues, and we'll talk about some of it.
Mm-hmm.
But really what I want to do is just dive into a little bit about the production. I think it has an interesting production history. And then
famously interesting
production history. And then just tackle a couple of themes. Like I said, this movie does a lot. I think we could do, a 3-hour episode just on this movie.
And we're not going to do that. Many podcasts have.
Basic synopsis if you somehow are unfamiliar with what The Wizard of Oz is about. You've got Dorothy Gale, who is a child, which we'll talk about a little bit. She's not a teenager. Who lives in Kansas. Despite appearances.
And size.
So Dorothy Gale, she lives in Kansas. She is getting in kind of the typical trouble kids get into. She has a dog that misbehaves.
The dog is so well trained.
She lives on a farm that is a working farm, and her childhood shenanigans get in the way of the productivity of the farm. Is feeling a little disillusioned and dreams of going somewhere where she can be a little more whimsical, where there's more going on, where things are perfect and she's not burdened by responsibility. Somewhere over the rainbow, there is a storm, there's a twister, picks up her house, throws her into the magical land of Oz, and as soon as she gets there, she wants to go back home, and she goes on a journey to try to get home via the yellow brick road to the Emerald City, where she is to meet the wonderful Wizard of Oz, who can help her return to Kansas. So, production. We'll start with, the credited director on this movie is Victor Fleming. But he only directed about half the movie. He sort of was brought in to save it. It was originally Richard Thorpe who shot a bunch of footage, but the studio didn't like any of it. They ended up throwing all of it away. I guess Dorothy was wearing a blonde wig and was more childish in his original
interesting
stuff. And then George Cukor, Cukor.
Yeah, I think that's right. George Cukor.
Yeah, he came in and changed the aesthetic of the movie. The look that we have is really credited to him. Then Victor Fleming came in, directed everything that happened in Oz. And then after that, Victor Fleming got pulled from Oz to go save another troubled production, Gone with the Wind, which we talked about.
He was running back and forth between sets. They were like trading directors during the day.
Yeah. And then King Vidor came in and directed the bookends, the Kansas stuff. But Victor Fleming got the credit. And it was just kind of a mess to make, really difficult, cost a ton of money, went over budget.
Most expensive film that had ever been produced up to that point. I joked about it at the beginning, but 23 cents a ticket for a movie was actually exorbitant at the time. It was the most expensive movie ticket that had ever been sold.
Movies were a nickel, famously, at the time.
This is like the introduction of like going and seeing a 3D film and them adding that extra, or if you want to go see an IMAX, like going to see The Wizard of Oz, you had to pay more to see it.
And while this is today one of the most widely, if not the most widely seen movies at the time,
I think like estimates is that it is the most widely seen movie in the world.
It was not in 1939. I mean, this movie lost money for decades. It didn't even break even until a re-release way later, like in the 50s.
Yeah, I think the 50s it broke even, but even then it still didn't do well in theaters.
Yeah, it didn't become kind of the cultural phenomenon that it is now until it started playing on TV in the 60s. And that's really interesting because it wasn't ignored at the time. It wasn't not like acclaimed at the time. It was nominated for 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, won 2 of them for the music.
Which makes sense.
The music
is.
I mean,
I love the music and I love the look of this movie, despite like me not being transported. Those are 2 things that
It didn't win for visual effects, which is shocking to me.
What did?
The Rain Came or something like that. Which apparently had a bunch of scenes of like a storm with floods that like destroyed a town. And that ended up winning. It's shocking in retrospect that The Wizard of Oz didn't win Best Visual Effects, because I don't know about you, but I think they hold up even now.
Well, even if you don't think they hold up now, this movie is like the godfather of current visual effects.
Yeah.
Like everybody who was growing up watching movies and then making movies later, like they were basing how to build a world that was not our own on The Wizard of Oz.
And it had influence at the time too. It wasn't the first movie to be in color, but it was one of the first movies that used color as a narrative device. The very ultra saturated Technicolor that was used in this movie became a template for movies going forward. And so, the movie did have influence. It was well received critically. Audiences liked it, but it was not the classic, like the instant phenomenon that it, evolved into.
No, I mean, it took, to your point, decades for it to become that, and it slowly evolved, which again makes it really interesting to me that like people went back and revisited and slowly adopted it. We talked about this with our Capra movie too, was the same sort of thing, which is like It's a Wonderful Life was not super well liked at the time, and then people slowly warmed to it as the decades went on, and suddenly it became thing. And I joined right along on that.
Yeah, I mean that was another one too that TV was really responsible for It's a Wonderful Life.
TV and VHS did some really interesting things to like cinema and culture in the 70s up through like the mid 90s. I mean, we'll get into more movies like this, but like Home Alone's on our list, and it was a huge VHS phenomenon in addition to being a huge theatrical phenomenon.
And then the Troubles in production,
to say the least,
didn't end with the revolving door director. There were famously, the Tin Man had to be recast because the original actor got super sick because they used an aluminum paste to make him silver, and so he got too sick to film. They had to recast the role, change the makeup up.
These are other ways in which this film is the godfather of modern VFX movies, which is absolutely torturing your performers and crew.
Yes. The Ruby Slippers were famous in that, they were using this Technicolor process. In the book, the slippers are silver. MGM wanted something that would become iconic. And so making the slippers red were one of the things they did. That worked, obviously.
Yeah, I would say.
I mean, the slippers are in the Smithsonian. And like fun little thing, when they did the Wicked movies, those movies are made by Universal.
Mm-hmm.
Wizard of Oz is an MGM property. The book is in the public domain because it's so old, but the ruby slippers are copywritten by MGM. So Universal actually had to pay a licensing fee to MGM just to include the ruby slippers in the Wicked movies.
And that was when they finally paid off the Wizard of Oz.
And that is when the Wizard of Oz became profitable.
Yeah, with that licensing fee.
Yeah, there's a great scene with snow in the poppy field where they used asbestos to make the snow.
Just poured it over them.
Which, knowing what we know now, maybe don't pour asbestos all over your actors.
I always feel like things like that are sort of like cigarettes in the 60s where it's like, no, they knew.
They knew.
They knew. They knew, but they didn't know, but they knew. But they knew.
And to be fair, snow never looks good in movies. Even now, snow doesn't really look good in movies. I think the asbestos makes really good snow.
It actually does play quite well on camera.
Yeah.
So, yeah, snow and rain both have a tendency to look a little manufactured. It's difficult to make the weather. Maybe that's why supervillains and all of the bad Saturday morning cartoons are always controlling the weather. Mm-hmm. And also in that shitty Avengers movie with Ralph Fiennes.
You're gonna have to be so much more specific.
The Avengers.
The Avengers.
Yeah, it's actually called The Avengers. It's not a Marvel property, but the villain's ultimate plan is to control the weather and sell it. Played by Sean Connery.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, how funny. Because
that movie is
we think the new Avengers movies are pretty shitty too. So
Endgame and Infinity War are fine.
They're fine.
They're fine. They're fine.
And so troubled production, cost a ton of money, took forever to become profitable, but eventually became a huge hit. And that, I think, is really where the interesting conversation is, which is like, why is this a story that people still revisit? And maybe even why is it so popular now compared to, over the last nearly 100 years? It seems to be having a specific moment today. And I think it's because of sort of the populist themes that the movie explores.
So here's the thing. Like I mentioned, I chose Wuthering Heights because it's gotten this sort of remake and refresh. And yes, it is a different story. That's why it has the scare quotes around it. Emerald Fennell specifically put them there. But my understanding is it still follows a lot of the basic plot beats. Wicked, by my estimation, is not a retelling of The Wizard of Oz. It's a weird modern reclaiming of the story.
Yeah, it's like a quasi sequel-ish side journey.
Yeah. And but populist themes, do you feel that they run through both films, The Wizard of Oz and Wicked? Or
I think Wicked is kind of an answer to them. I think it responds to the populist themes.
I agree. Yeah. Like they're in conversation a little bit more than necessarily like revisiting them.
Yeah.
So the question as to why this movie lasts, do you think it's its themes, or do you think it's like its technical wizardry, its music, it's like visual
I think it's
elements?
Both. I think, I did say that this movie does a lot of things and it does it well. There's something there for everyone. I think that it being an easy story to digest with memorable musical numbers, it's paced very quickly. Like this movie moves fast, in my opinion. All of that makes it something that people will watch and watch happily. But I do think it connects. I think that, you mentioned the other Capra movie we talked about, It's a Wonderful Life. Go back, listen to that episode where we drool all over that movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah. This one, similarly, though, I think tells a story about this idea of wanting something bigger and more fantastic. And that thing that is bigger and more fantastic being a lie, for lack of a better word, that really what matters is, and we talked about this in the Deadpool episode too, last week.
Which, by the way, that was a fun episode.
That was a fun episode.
I cannot believe how much we found in that movie. Yeah. But yeah.
That the value of a person's life is in the world that they have, however small that world is.
Mm-hmm.
And that, the broader world around you, the bigger thing, over the rainbow, the Emerald City, ends up kind of being shallow and not what matters to you. And so, Dorothy dreams of leaving Kansas, leaving her troubles behind. And when she travels to Oz, the colors are brighter, things are more interesting, but they're also scarier and more dangerous. And she doesn't have the support system that she values at home, or the love of her family that she seems to really discover and value. And then there's also...
Let's pause there.
Yeah.
Because this is where I really struggle with the tension between Oz and Kansas and Dorothy's moving between these two worlds. So let's just start with this world that she's dreaming of, that is Oz, right? You're saying that she's learning that she needs to, be content with the world that she has and not necessarily be dreaming of like these grander things. It's this populist message, connects back to, Capra-esque movies. But so like just the lyrics of the song Somewhere Over the Rainbow, right? When she's dreaming of another world. This is a world where skies are blue, that she's able to wish upon a star. Not even that the wish comes true, but just that she has the ability to make a wish, basically to have a dream, because in her current world it's so dismal and so dark that she's not even able to dream. Bluebirds fly. So there are birds in the sky. And this is the part where like in this movie, I don't understand why Dorothy wants to return to this world. I do understand why she wants to leave it. Kansas is so bleak. It's not just sepia. Like the skies are dark and cloudy. Auntie M does not listen to her, does not care one bit about anything she has to say when she comes home with like legitimate problems with the neighbor who's threatening to take her dog away. And she's just not concerned with it. She falls in a pig pit. And when they save her, the farm hands, Auntie M comes over and threatens to fire all of them for lazing about. Like her life in this world is not like the regular life of George Bailey. Her life is pretty awful, and Kansas really sucks.
Yeah.
And she's dreaming of a world where just birds fly. She just wants to be in a world where birds fly. I don't think that's asking too much. I don't think she's like reaching too far.
See, I read it very differently.
Okay.
And so I think like that maybe is it, is that I think her life is not terrible. I think it's ordinary. And I think her child's perspective views ordinary as terrible. I don't think it's a mistake or a coincidence that she grows up on a farm, right? A farm is a place where everyone has to work really hard. It's not like farming is not an easy life, especially, in the 30s or when the book was written was like the Dust Bowl, right?
I think it was 1890 actually.
Yeah. So I mean, farming was tough, but farming as a metaphor for this place where you pay into it, you give it your blood, sweat, and tears, and then something grows, right? And you reap the rewards of that work is a lesson that's just lost on a child.
Sure. But let's look at the economic reality of what's happening. So normally in Dust Bowl era, when you have a child at Dorothy's age, she would be home working on the farm. But what's she doing when she comes back to the farm? She's coming back from school.
Yeah.
They've decided that they're actually going to be sending her to school, which is not required in 1890.
Right.
And so they are investing in her future and in her dreams, but they're not providing any kind of like emotional support for her back at the farm. There's still an expectation that she like behave like a farm girl, even though clearly they've made some kind of decision that it's okay to have her away from the farm while they continue to grow so that she can have a different kind of future. Because you don't need to go to primary school to work on a farm. Right.
But isn't that, again,
they're teaching her to dream.
She dreams, but isn't living the reality of those, or the dreams aren't coming true yet, right? And I think it really comes down to her being a child and not having paid the dues, lived a life, having perspective. She lives with her aunt and uncle, right? So clearly her life has had things go wrong in it, right? Her parents aren't around.
Gotta have an orphan at the center of every single story.
And so these are, Aunt Em and Uncle Henry are people who have taken her in, provided a home. They're letting her not work on the farm. They're sending her to school so that she can have a better life. There is support for her. But as a child, she just isn't able to sort of see that, I think, that bigger picture. And so she dreams of a place where things are more exciting and the answers are easy. There is a magical wizard that can give everyone everything they want, and it all falls apart.
Well, this comes back to the other central like tension for me is, do you think Oz is a place?
I think in the context of the 1939 movie, it is not.
So for the sake of this narrative, you think it is that all of that takes place strictly inside of her head?
I think so.
What I really enjoy about this movie is that it does not tell you. I love when a movie does something like that where it does not tell you whether you are in that world or not. Because then you have to ask yourself, is everything that's happening in Oz within Dorothy?
Yeah.
Is that something that completely occupies her? These are lessons that she's learned that she is now playing out after her bonk on the head from that very large window frame, which is funny that the whole frame just comes out.
The whole frame just comes out, hits her, knocks her down.
No broken glass or anything. Or has she actually traveled to a world, which this is like the much debated topic, and I talked to you a little bit about this before we prepped, and I want to get into it now, is like, there are things that make you think that it's not real, which is the bonk on the head, the fact that her house is back in Kansas when she arrives in Kansas. But then there are things that make you think that it is in fact real. And I'll say Glinda is one of the most important factors there, which is, what does Glinda represent if she's not real? Because she is one of the only characters, definitely the only major character that does not exist in Kansas and in Oz. She only lives in Oz. So where does that character come from?
So Glinda sucks.
Glinda is straight evil.
Yeah.
Like, she meets this little girl, asks her if she's a bad witch, after telling her the bad witches are ugly, and then proceeds to paint a target on her back for the local terrorist.
Yeah. So I think that Glinda is sort of the like mystical tour guide that happens in a lot of stories. I think Glinda exists only so that Dorothy has to go down the yellow brick road and try to get to the Emerald City. Like, if we just look at the facts on the ground, right?
Sure, but if it exists strictly in her head, I mean, is this her ego? Is this her id? What is, like, you can say within the narrative she's doing that, but you're saying that this is existing entirely within Dorothy. So what is Glinda inside of Dorothy?
I don't know.
I think Oz might be real.
So, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I sort of dismiss Glinda a little bit as being just narratively necessary. Right, you know, I know. Because
you don't have the story without Glinda.
The lesson at the end of the story is that everyone had the things that they were seeking within themselves already. You know, Dorothy, if Glinda would have just been like, oh, by the way, those shoes that I like teleported to your feet can just like take you home right now. You don't actually have to go to the wizard. Glinda knows this.
Glinda knows this from the jump. She moves those shoes from the dead sister's feet onto Dorothy. Like, we can agree that, right?
Yes.
It's moderately ambiguous, but it does seem like when the Wicked Witch shows up, when Gulch's
and so I think
analog.
For Dorothy, what she's learning from both Glinda is the same that she learns when she eventually meets the wizard, which is when you're looking to an authority figure to direct you to your problems, the answer ends up actually being within. And so I think we're meant to understand, I think Dorothy is meant to understand that she didn't need a wizard. She didn't need a Glinda either. That, you know.
But she didn't ask for a Glinda. She didn't show up and request a Glinda. Glinda just arrives of her own volition. And again, this is where, you know, does this exist inside of her head, or is this actually a place?
Yeah.
I lean towards it being a place. Like, I will say that.
See, because I think at the end of it, what we learn, what Glinda says is that if I would have just given you the answer, you wouldn't have learned everything that you learned along the way. Right. And that by the end of it, you've gone through this journey, you've learned some things, and now you're sort of ready to use the magic of the slippers. And so I think for Dorothy, it's she gets somewhere, she's lost, she's a child, there's an adult, she's going to need guidance. She gets the guidance, goes on the journey, learns a bunch of stuff when she's on her own, and then is sort of empowered to solve her own problems. And so I see Glinda more as an analog to the wizard than anything else.
So just an extension of Marvel then.
Yeah.
In this world that's like reached out across. Except that, does Marvel teach the same lesson? Because I think his lesson is different.
Is it? Because I think Marvel's lesson is that he sees this girl who's running away and basically is able to recognize that that's not what's going to be best for her and that she needs to go home. And so he sort of tricks her into going home.
And again, this is probably where I disagree. I don't think that is what's best for her. I think her home sucks. I think Marvel's wrong, and I think Marvel's trying to unload this girl because he doesn't want to be seen as some old guy traveling the Kansas countryside with a 10-year-old girl.
That's so funny.
Because then he has to feed her, and it also just doesn't look good. Traveling around with some 10-year-old girl that wasn't yours, not a good look.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. Not for a man at Marvel's age who's eating sausages by the fire.
No, see, because I just think that like Dorothy at this point is just impatient. Like she's an impatient child who needs to live a little bit of life. And
but what is it that she's actively doing that's so impatient? Because her song of longing is a song of longing for just a world that isn't so gray.
But is it actually? I think this is the other question, right?
Again,
like
I'm looking at the text of the song.
Yeah. No. I know you're looking at the text of the song, but the text of the song is coming in her voice, right? It's her perception of the world around her.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, you are right. You do view this entire movie through her eyes.
Yeah.
I think the only time you truly leave her perspective is when you visit the Wicked Witch and she's like looking into her crystal ball. But I don't know that you ever leave her perspective any other time.
Yeah. And so
Truly.
For me, it's, we watch black and white movies all the time, right? But in those black and white, everybody.
Yeah, that is false. That is a false. I was like, that is a false statement.
But I think like
people don't even watch movies all the time.
In any black and white movie, we don't assume that the world that those characters are in is actually black and white. It's
absolutely, but this movie's not black and white. That's what's important.
It's sepia.
It is. Yeah. It's this very hazy. It's not even just that there's no color in the world. It's that the set of Kansas is bleak.
Yeah.
It is a cloudy, dark sky. Yeah. There is nothing in the horizon, and everything in that world is dirt and dead.
But what I'm saying is that I don't think Kansas is actually sepia and Oz is actually in color. I think it is meant to be how Dorothy sees those worlds. And so I think
she sees her dream world and the things that she wants as being more vibrant, more attractive.
And so Kansas that she's living in, I believe, is a full color world that we are meant to get into Dorothy's perspective of seeing it as this bleak, brown, desolate place. And that, she thinks the sky's not blue, that birds don't fly, that, she needs to go over the rainbow. But if the world was really like that, she wouldn't have the reference point to even think that birds can fly or that there is a rainbow.
Well, let me posit this, though. So if you have a little girl who has an imagination that's so active that she's able to dream in colors that she can't see in the world, right? That are so vibrant that they're beyond her ability to perceive them. Again, this isn't a girl you keep on the farm. You send her to art school and you let her direct movies. Like, she has this incredibly vibrant imagination. I don't want to pull that, this kind of free spirit.
But they are, right? They are sending her to school. They're not sending her back to the farm.
No, but I'm saying they should put her on a train out to LA and get her in the filmmaking industry. Because if this is her imagination. Yes. She's a genius. If she's made Oz.
I don't know.
What makes the movie interesting? And like I said, the movie doesn't transport me. Doesn't mean I don't like it. I do like it.
Yeah.
I think what makes the movie interesting is that nothing is as it appears in this world. And it's something I really enjoy about the movie. The movie never tells you whether Oz is real or not. It's something that I really love about the movie. The movie kicks off with a little girl who wants to return to her dismal world, sort of inexplicably. And it's something I really like about the movie, too, because I think Oz is I personally, when I watch this movie, I think Oz is a better place for her. I actually believe she should occupy Oz. Her life in Oz would be more interesting, more fulfilling than necessarily returning to Kansas. And her dreams of what she wants outside of Kansas, they're not that much to ask. And so she has that. But those are all the things that I actually like about the movie. And so maybe that's where you and I, you get transported to this sort of parable about finding yourself, whereas I see this really complicated I guess, really complicated tale about like things not always being what they appear on multiple levels of the film.
Yeah, I definitely see it as a parable. That's what I love about it, is it's this story about someone who just needs to understand that the greatness is within them, that they are not going to find the greatness elsewhere, and that what they need is to come into themselves so that they can unleash that inner greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And so the things that happen along their way make sense that the fantastic nature of Oz isn't quite what it seems. The dangers of Oz aren't quite what they seem, because none of it actually is real or matters. What matters is that she goes down the yellow brick road, grows, learns, becomes more confident, and then can apply that confidence to whatever circumstances she finds herself in.
And I think she's already pretty darn confident. She's standing up to Gulch in a way that even Auntie M won't.
Yeah. And then the other piece that I want to get into is the wizard itself, himself.
Marvel the wizard.
Marvel the wizard. So Marvel's a fraud. That's established very early on. He is not a psychic. He has not traveled the world and seen all of these things. He does not have any sort of knowledge that is otherworldly that no one else possesses.
He's a storyteller.
And then the wizard, who's played by the same actor,
mm-hmm.
for a very obvious metaphor, is the same. Everyone in Oz views the wizard as this great, powerful person who can solve all of their problems. He's like their benevolent dictator. And then you literally peek behind the curtain, find out he's just a dude.
Just some dude.
Just some dude with some cool special effects.
And a pretty gnarly mustache.
Well, I like his mustache.
As admirers of mustaches, yes. I thought we could just
We are
pause.
pro mustache on this podcast.
Pause and appreciate. Did you see Leo's mustache at the Oscars?
Yeah. Great mustache also.
Oh my gosh, great. Yeah, he should be rocking that thing all the time.
I know. I think that just really was the final nail in poor Timothy Chalamet's coffin.
What, the mustache? He just didn't have a good enough mustache?
Well, I think it's just leading up, Timmy thought he was going to win everything. His stock started to drop, and then he gets to the Oscars, and not only does he lose, but, his facial hair was outshone in a fantastic way.
And that's Mustache Corner with Ian and Michael.
Yes. So you have the wizard who can't do anything for them. He can't give the scarecrow brains, the Tin Man a heart, can't make the lion brave, can't really take Dorothy home. He's nothing. He's a fraud. He's the answer that Dorothy was looking for, this great big thing that was going to solve all of her problems, isn't real, is a facade. And he does end up, though, teaching, I think, an important lesson.
Have a brain? That's a very mediocre commodity. Every pusillanimous creature that crawls on the earth or slinks through slimy seas has a brain. Back where I come from, we have universities, seats of great learning, where men go to become great thinkers. And when they come out, they think deep thoughts, and with no more brains than you have. But they have one thing you haven't got, a diploma. Therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Universitatis Comitiatum e Pluribus Unum, I hereby confer upon you the honorary degree of Ph.D.
Ph.D.?
Yeah, that's Doctor of Thinkology. As for you, my fine friend, you're a victim of disorganized thinking. You are under the unfortunate delusion that simply because you run away from danger, you have no courage. You're confusing courage with wisdom. Back where I come from, we have men who are called heroes. Once a year, they take their fortitude out of mothballs and parade it down the main street of the city. And they have no more courage than you have. But they have one thing that you haven't got, a medal. Therefore, for meritorious conduct, extraordinary valor, conspicuous bravery against wicked witches, I award you the Triple Cross. For you, my galvanized friend, you want a heart. You don't know how lucky you are not to have one. Hearts will never be practical until they can be made unbreakable.
But I still want one.
Back where I come from, there are men who do nothing all day but good deeds. They are called good deeds.
Knows the word pusillanimous.
And their hearts are no bigger than yours.
I thought it was
but
philanthropist.
They have one thing.
Yeah, no,
you
earlier
have
he said
not.
pusillanimous.
Testimonial.
But then he doesn't know
In
philanthropist.
consideration of your kindness, I take pleasure at this time in presenting you with a small token of our esteem and affection. And remember, my sentimental friend, that a heart is not judged by how much you love, but by how much you are loved by others.
So what I like about that scene is that the wizard is so close to getting it right, but he's still kind of full of shit.
Like many people on the internet talking about things that they shouldn't be.
You know, the real lesson is that the Scarecrow had brains all along, right? He's faced with challenges. He's able to come up with solutions. The Tin Man is empathetic and caring the whole way through. And the Lion is forced to face his fears and does so the whole way through. He goes on the journey. He fights the Wicked Witch. Everything they thought they didn't have, they always had, right?
Mm-hmm.
What the wizard says that they're missing is basically credentialing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's sort of what he is too. He's just a dude, but because he's given this image of a wizard, everyone sort of listens to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's telling them basically, yeah, you know, if you can be smart, but what you really need is a degree. You can be brave, but what you really need is a parade that celebrates your braveness. And
I love it's the parade for that.
That you can have a heart, you can be really loving and empathetic, but really what matters is what people think of you, right? Mm-hmm. And it's all crap, right? And then he's going to take Dorothy home, bumbles through that. Dorothy ends up having to take herself home.
Mm-hmm.
There is, again, back to this idea of populism, the beauty in the mundane, the virtue in the ordinary, or just the idea that all those things can exist and it's really who you are that makes the difference. That I think is the real lesson, that ultimately at the end of the day, the wizard still doesn't give them the answers. He tells them that it still has to come from these external places, but what matters is that Dorothy is able to go home, have more confidence, and then move forward in life. You know, the sequel that we get is Dorothy returning to Oz. I think the real sequel...
Which we have also done on this pod, weirdly.
Yeah. But I think that the real sequel, I think the rest of Dorothy's actual journey...
And you liked that one too, right?
I did. I thought it was fun. It was crazy.
It's nuts, yeah.
It's not a great companion to this movie.
I don't even think it's intended to be. They also had to pay a bunch of money for those ruby slippers.
Yeah.
That was a Disney.
But I think the real sequel is Dorothy just going home, growing up a little bit, becoming an adult, and then living her own life, making her own decisions, building the world that she wants around her. But it's all internal. It's not because she's able to go to school and get a degree. She's able to go to school and maybe acquire some knowledge and skills. It's not because a bunch of people are doting on her all the time. It's because she has a heart and is an empathetic person and can use those knowledge and skills and then apply that with her care and her values. And that it's going to take some bravery to go out and do that in a world that doesn't have easy answers. I think Dorothy's future is bright, but not spectacular in a way that is, in wild Technicolor with magic and, munchkins and talking lions.
Yes, I get all of that from that scene too. But there's a couple things about the scene that like really complicate the message of the movie for me, or at least the one that you're taking. And again, this is what I like about this movie. Is you can come at it from so many different angles. But I think the first one is that while the wizard seems sort of foolish in this moment, he's also calling out some realities about like some actually cynical realities about a world that we all live in.
Yeah.
Which is that is sort of how we see these things. And I think that sort of like, whether it's a parade or a diploma or whatever, those are still things people do to communicate their value to the world. Like when you go into a lawyer's office or a doctor's office, what's the thing right behind them every single time?
Yeah.
It's always that diploma.
And I guess like my worldview is lawyers and doctors are a bad example, but I think in a lot of places, like that's stupid too. Like,
well, but it's stupid, but it's also real. It is what people expect, and it's what lends credibility. I mean, you know why doctors wear lab coats, right?
To make them look like fancy scientists.
It's a costume to instill confidence in the person sitting across from them. Because the reality is, well, yes, that person has training. We're still just two people sitting at a table, but it sets up this sort of like hierarchy where I'm now to trust you. And he's pointing out the importance of having those things. So he's not wrong. To your point, like he's close. But the other thing that's really fascinating about this scene for me is that when the curtain gets pulled and we see that it's just a guy, and it's just a guy that's kind of full of shit. If, in your theory, that this movie takes place entirely within Dorothy's head, then that means that she knew he was full of shit when she met him out on the roadside, that she was able to see through him there. But there's no indication at the time that that's necessarily the case. So either her subconscious was able to see through and know that he's kind of a huckster.
Yeah.
Or she anticipates that people like that are going to be hucksters in the future.
Yeah, I think it's about like what her subconscious knows that her consciousness doesn't.
And I think that's the most interesting split between her conscious and her subconscious is the way she interacts with the wizard versus the way she interacts with Marvel. Except that in Oz, while we are able to see that he's a huckster, she still seems to have respect for him. And my big question is, if she'd gotten on the balloon with him, would she have gone home? Or if this is her unconscious and she's gotten hit on the head, is that the ghost path to death? Like, is that she?
Yeah, no, I think that
the choice to live.
She doesn't get on the balloon because her subconscious saves her from that, right? I think because everything that happens within her subconscious, and so the things that seem like they're out of her control are really her subconscious making them happen. And so I think when he accidentally floats away, that is her subconscious kind of making that final break that you don't actually need this.
But you do need advice from Glinda, who is a little villainous.
I think so too. I think again, Wicked did it better, I guess. But we could have a whole conversation about like Glinda not being a hero.
Well,
yeah, she needed to get hit on the head, basically. She was a delusional little girl who needed to get knocked into reality.
That'll teach her for when to see bluebirds singing in the sky and to maybe dream of a world in which she could possibly dream.
See the bluebirds that are already flying in the already blue sky in a world that already has rainbows.
Is brown, bro.
Through her perspective.
You ever been to Kansas?
No.
That's a pretty good representation of it. I think that you are romanticizing the Midwest, my friend, as a West Coast elite.
I'm not romanticizing the Midwest, but I perhaps am romanticizing blue-collar life.
I grew up in rural America. Maybe that's why my love for all of this is not as deep as yours. Let's jump into Wuthering Heights.
Let's do it.
Because obviously we've done full service to The Wizard of Oz, the great classic.
I don't think it's possible to.
No, it probably isn't. All right, so I'm going to do a quick summary of Wuthering Heights, and then we will we'll do a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, a couple interesting facts about the making of the movie, but mostly we'll get into sort of the themes and talk about why does this story persist. While out for a walk one day, Mr. Earnshaw happens upon a wild young lad in the streets. After a hopefully exhaustive search for his parents, Earnshaw abducts the whippersnapper, Heathcliff, with the intent of helping him to make good. To no one's surprise, Earnshaw's spoiled heir spends the next several decades abusing Heathcliff while Earnshaw's daughter, Cathy, takes an interest in him the way one might take an interest in an adopted bobcat kitten, only dirtier. Eventually, Cathy loses interest in Heathcliff when she meets the wealthy Mr. Linton, and Earnshaw Jr. drinks himself into a stupor and eventually the poorhouse. All the while, Heathcliff pines madly for Cathy, doing everything he can to reignite their youthful passion. This story is a story about class. This is a story about passion. I think it's a story about our true selves versus our selves that we present in society, and this sort of split that happens within our souls when we're presented with these great calls from both angles. I think these are all the reasons that this movie actually lives on. But before we get into those things, like I said, let's do a little behind the scenes. So I think the most interesting thing about this movie is actually the casting. So Laurence Olivier plays Heathcliff. In 1939, people were not concerned about him playing the dark gypsy because he is not dark. Although there are some very funny scenes in which they talk about how dark he is and how dirty his hands are. And they are, you can see your reflection.
I laughed out loud at the scenes where they talked about his dirty hand. They're like, don't touch her. You're going to make her dirty. And then you look at his hands like, those are well manicured.
Yeah, you can see the top coat on his nails.
Yeah.
Olivier came out to Hollywood to take this role with his paramour, Vivien Leigh. And he was under the impression that she would actually be taking the role of Cathy and that he would be able to play opposite her. He thought she was a great actress. He was very deeply in love. They were together for many, many years, didn't break up until the 60s. And he gets there and felt as though the rug had been pulled underneath him when they revealed that they would not be casting Vivien and instead be putting Merle Oberon as Cathy Earnshaw. He hated Merle. Merle hated him. There were frequent conflicts on set. She would constantly complain that he was spitting on her while he was saying his lines close. They never got along for the entire shoot, not from day one. And I think it actually shows up in the production. And in some ways, it makes the movie better because there is this very bizarre tension between them. And you can feel that it is very real in that, like, these characters, they do love-hate each other. It is like the greatest story of love-hate I've ever seen. So that created a bit of a troubled production. The other interesting thing is that the end of the movie has a marginally happy ending. So the film was all told actually from the future, in which, spoiler, movie was made in 1939. I don't even know why I say spoiler anymore. Cathy dies. She dies of a fever or a will to die, whatever that is. Maybe that's where George Lucas got it for Revenge of the Sith. She's just lost the will to live. Well, Cathy had the will to die. And she is successful. But the final scene in which Heathcliff goes out into the snow after the story's been told and after Cathy's been long since dead and the manor of Wuthering Heights has fallen into grave disrepair and he dies in the snow. Well, Samuel Goldwyn was like, no, you're not ending my movie that way. So they went back and did reshoots and had their ghosts walking in the snow back up to Penistone Crag. I did it once, right?
You did.
Look up the way it's spelled. We get to see them in love in the afterlife. That's not what the director or the writer had as a vision for it, but everybody felt that the ending of him dying in the snow alone was just too dark, too dismal. So that was changed. They shot that with doubles. Some other interesting things about it, not unlike your snow problems from The Wizard of Oz, we had some similar snow problems. There is a lot of snow in this movie.
Snow.
And it's shot in LA. And so they had to do a bunch of things to make it look like the moors of Yorkshire, including planting tons and tons of heather and dumping lots of poisonous fake snow all over, which, let's be clear, it looks pretty good.
And was it also
that
asbestos?
Old asbestos?
Yeah.
I had a hard time confirming that it was, but it looks very, very similar, and that was the common material used. And so I'm going to assume that it was asbestos based on my reading.
So the real lesson of this episode is that we endorse the usage of asbestos as a double for snow.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Making sure.
Yeah. I think that for our entertainment, and I mean, if you want to talk about why Hollywood's dying, it's because they stopped using asbestos as snow.
Yes.
Yeah. Theaters would fill right back up again.
Perfect theory. No notes. Don't need to elaborate.
So this was the first film to use what was called the Mitchell BNC camera, allowing for silent operation without that sound blip that you hear in a lot of older films. It makes it feel a little more modern. And I actually think it does feel really good for a 1939 movie.
It does.
This you mentioned this earlier in the episode, but in 1939, I really feel like this is when movies went from feeling sort of, for lack of a better term, like old-timey, right? The sort of jitter and the blips, to suddenly feeling like a little bit more modern films. And we see it in this. Obviously, we see it in The Wizard of Oz with the Technicolor, and it's just, I mean, it's marvelous. It looks amazing.
Yeah, Wizard of Oz looks like it could have been made yesterday.
Yeah, it's almost too saturated in some ways, where I'm like, this is too much color?
I think that's on purpose and thematic.
No, I do too. It's not a criticism.
Yeah.
And then even if you go and watch Gone with the Wind, like these are films that sort of step into the modern era, and this is part of it, is this technology was coming out. And so that's a little bit behind the scenes. You know, the budget for this movie, let me see, do I have? So this cost $1.2 million to make. Its initial run domestic was only $600,000. Again, didn't do super well at the time, didn't become beloved until later. And it's worth mentioning that both of the films we're doing today are in our 1,000 Films You Must See by the New York Times, both very well reviewed by the New York Times in their day. Critics like these movies.
Both nominated for Best Picture.
Both nominated for Best Picture. Very well respected films. Both not terribly successful at the time, which maybe goes against your theory around the Academy like no longer picking the populist movies, because back then they were still nominating movies that nobody saw.
Yeah. Well, I think 600,000 at the time was decent. I don't think it was
not
terrible.
on a movie that cost 1.2 mil.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, I mean, that's half.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when this movie eventually became profitable, or if it ever, I'm sure it eventually did. At any rate, that's some of the behind the scenes stuff. But like I said, I really want to talk about the themes of this movie, because this is a story that was written in 1850. It has been remade countless times in Hollywood. This is probably its most famous film version, I think, or at least its most respected film version.
There are a lot of them, but this is the one that I think is considered the definitive adaptation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can see why. So I really enjoyed this film more than I actually thought I was going to, because I wasn't really sure what I was getting myself into by choosing Wuthering Heights. I haven't gone to see Emerald Fennels in theaters. With this movie, though, there's a couple themes I want to discuss. And I think I probably want to actually start with the sort of Instagram of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So she takes him out to the moors by Penistone Crag, and they dream of this world in which he kills the Dark Knight, and they play this fun game of like castles and him having this wealthy blood and heritage or whatever. Eventually, when they're older, this fantasy is punctured by the music from the Linton's party.
Why aren't you a man? Heathcliff, why don't you run away?
Run away? From you?
You could come back to me rich and take me away. Why aren't you my prince like we said long ago? Why can't you rescue me, Heathcliff?
Cathy, come with me now.
Where?
Anywhere.
And live in haystacks? And steal our food from the marketplaces? No, Heathcliff. That's not what I want.
You just want to send me off. That won't do. I've stayed here and been beaten like a dog. Abused and cursed and driven mad, but I stayed just to be near you. Even as a dog. And I'll stay till the end. I'll live and I'll die under this rock.
Do you hear? Music. The Lintons are giving a party.
And that's really where I want to kick off our conversation, is that music from the Linton's party, because I saw this as Instagram puncturing the happiness. And I say Instagram, what I mean is like the trad wives, the keeping up with the Joneses, whatever you want to call it, the influencers coming in and saying, you see this lovely little life that you have? It's not good enough, because look at how clean and nice this life over here is. And it infects Cathy's soul. And I think this is where the movie really takes off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think that Wuthering Heights has the place, the manor, has the potential to be great. Like it could be really, really nice. You know, they own land, they have help, they do all these things. And then it falls into disrepair because they sort of let it.
I would say Hindley largely is the reason.
Yeah, Hindley's largely the reason. And later, Heathcliff.
Heathcliff does it almost intentionally, whereas Hindley does it because of his vices.
Right.
Yeah.
And
whereas I think Heathcliff does it out of like vengeance.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. And then you have, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the other house, the Lintons.
Oh, the Grange.
The Grange, which is very clean, very pretty.
Very white.
Very white.
It's described as heaven.
And it's because they've decided to make it that way and to maintain it that way.
Well, they clearly have more money.
I
think that is like they hold more land, they have more tenants, they collect more rent or whatever they collect from the tenants, and so they are wealthier landowners. Yeah,
I guess what I'm saying is I think that Wuthering Heights is pretty darn good and can continue to be pretty darn good if they didn't make it bad. And I think that whether it's jealousy, right, the Instagram of it all, where you see the sort of very pretty version and then sort of wallowing in that jealousy that then leads them down a path of self-destruction.
But I think that's what infects Cathy's soul. I don't think that's what, because Hindley is the master of the manor. I think that jealousy gets into Cathy, and that's really the moment at which her soul splits in twain. But you do see she's susceptible to it because she wants Heathcliff to go away and earn wealth so he can come back and take her away.
Yeah.
Because she wants to be taken away from Wuthering Heights, which you can say, well, she doesn't want to stay there and care for it. But on the flip side, as a woman, she needs to be in 1840. Like that is the expectation, is that she needs to be married away to preferably a wealthier person than with like who she's with. And so she has love for Heathcliff, but he doesn't own anything. She doesn't necessarily have love for the Lintons, but she does have love for that really pretty white house and that nice music and all the parties.
Yeah. And so she makes a choice.
Well, and that's the thing is, does she make a choice? That's what I like.
Yeah.
That's actually what I like about this movie is
that's what I struggle with this movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think we're seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
But this is not a bad movie. It's a good movie. But I really struggled with these characters. I think because I think what I've learned is that I struggle with romanticism, like the romantic era in general. Because the romantic era is kind of this like cultural rebellion against the Enlightenment, which this goes back to kind of the things I like about The Wizard of Oz, right? Which is this idea that like the world is what you make of it, that like you have agency as an individual and you can make choices and do things, and you can really choose to either be content or incontent, and then you move forward in life, and that your destiny is largely self-determined. Whereas in the romantic period, it seems to not do that. There is no truth. There's no series of decisions that a person can make, and that really it's about your feelings. And the bigger your feelings are, the better your feelings are. And because Cathy has a lot of big feelings, it doesn't matter if they make any sense. It doesn't matter if they're self-destructive. She's the hero of the story because she feels big.
Well, but again, you have to place the movie in time and place, because upward mobility in 1840s Yorkshire, like it's not really a thing. So what do you have apart from your feelings? Because for Cathy, as a middle-class landowner woman, her big feeling, she can either feel that she wants to marry Heathcliff, which is great, and then presumably like live in the poorhouse and starve to death, or she can do what she's supposed to. She can do what she's supposed to. And well, I just really quickly want to talk about, like, you mentioned about, like, it is what you make of it, right? Well, this movie actually puts forth, yes, if you go to America.
Well, and that's actually exactly what I was about to jump in and say, is I think, like, this is my own bias maybe, but like I look in this and she's like, yeah, I'm going to send Heathcliff off to America so that he can make something of himself and come back and rescue her. And I'm like,
you think slave
trade,
go
to
right?
America with her.
Slave trade, right?
No, I don't think this.
You don't think trade. he just went there, just made money?
I don't know. That's not answered. But I do think, like, because you have romanticism as this like rejection of the Enlightenment, whereas the Enlightenment actually like coming to life, it is America at this time.
Sure.
And so there is this subplot of Heathcliff going to America, and she could have kind of had her cake and ate it too if she would have just gone with him.
But he won't leave. And that's such an important part of the movie. He won't leave until she cuts him loose. He has many opportunities to go. He won't go.
Because he won't leave her. But if she would go with him, I think that equation changes.
But that offer is never made. Like she
never makes it, which is, I think, my problem with her.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You can have, you can and should have problems with Cathy, because Cathy is unable to make decisions for herself. She ends up leaning into, she leans into becoming that trad
She goes
wife,
to the wizard in Oz.
She does. She sees wealth, she sees comfort. And I think, like, let's get into the Grange and the Linton. So they go to that party, there's live music, it's white. When she finally adopts the life of the Lintons and allows Edgar, played by David Niven, does a really good job, by the way. Like, I think all the acting in this movie is really good. When she allows him to, like, into her life, you see the way they spend their time at the Grange, and it's playing the piano and playing chess
and doing cross stitch.
And then when you've grown bored of those activities, you change your clothing for dinner. Like, this is a vapid and empty life that exists within this home that appears, and this is the other big theme of the movie, is you sort of set up these dichotomies of heaven and hell, of angels and devils. The Lintons are painted as angels that live in heaven, or that's how Cathy sees them.
That's how Cathy sees them.
Yeah, and that's how Cathy sees them. But then the film uses a lot of imagery to say, well, this is what heaven looks like, right? But then when you see what's happening within heaven, it's superficial, it's meaningless.
Right.
Like, angels are supposed to care for those around them, and the Lintons don't care for anyone around them. They've created a silo, a little insulated home in which they do nothing.
Yeah. And then there's a third path that goes unexplored, which is Cathy and Heathcliff making a life for themselves somewhere else.
Why do you love him? Because he's handsome and pleasant to be with.
Well, that's not enough.
Because he'll be rich someday, and I'll be the finest lady in the county.
Oh. And now tell me how you love him.
I love the ground under his feet, the air above his head, and everything he touches.
What about Heathcliff?
Oh, Heathcliff. He gets worse every day. Would degrade me to marry him. I wish he hadn't come back. Oh, it would be heaven to escape from this disorderly, comfortless place.
Well, if Master Edgar and his charms and money and parties mean heaven to you, what's to keep you from taking your place among the Linton angels?
I don't think I belong in heaven, Ellen. I dreamt once I was there. I dreamt I went to heaven and that heaven didn't seem to be my home. And I broke my heart with weeping to come back to earth. The angels were so angry, they flung me out into the middle of the heath. On top of the Wuthering Heights.
This begs the question whether Heathcliff has infected her soul with wildness and an inability to see herself in heaven, or whether the Lintons infected her soul with a need for comfort and vapid superficiality. And it's what I like about the scene. And again, it is what I like about the movie is that Cathy is this, it's difficult to put your finger on who she really is, because it feels like she's been split in two. And the moment that it feels like she's been split in two is there. But you also have to ask yourself, well, when did she start having these dreams? When did she not see herself as being somebody who could be a well taken care of landowner woman sitting around doing her cross stitch?
I think what we see is that the wildness was in her before Heathcliff got there.
And that's the crop hitting.
Yeah, that's
I agree.
Hitting.
I think that she's a naturally wild person, and like that represents her soul. I agree.
And so, yeah, where did the Lintons infect her, to use your term? It's interesting, right? Like, because they go to that party, they're drawn in by the music. She gets hurt by it first. I think there's probably something there too.
By the dogs.
Yeah, by the dogs.
Oh, I think there's absolutely something there. It's like that she's not welcome in heaven.
Yeah, that she's not welcome in heaven. But then they take her in and nurse her back to health. Questionable circumstances, I think, how necessary that was. She seems like she was there for a very long time, given her needs. And I think then she was well taken care of, right? She was brought into heaven. She was pampered. She was nursed. She lived that life of comfort. And, that's easy. That's nice. That's attractive.
It would be difficult for her to extricate herself from it.
Yeah.
And she's only welcome in heaven when she removes Heathcliff from her life. Because Heathcliff isn't welcome there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has to then squash down the part of herself that Heathcliff represents, which is that wildness, right? She's not herself there.
Yeah. But this is the issue for her, is that she can't ever get comfortable in that life. And I mean, the movie and the story obviously suggests that this is what ultimately leads to her demise, is that she can't live in this world. There's something about it that is poisonous to her because of this part of her that is wild, that has an imagination, that has passion, that her big feelings, as you call them, they reject.
Yeah. And it's just, I know I keep coming back to this. It sounds like she just needs to leave England and go to America.
I mean, easier said than done.
Of course.
Right? And I think easier said than done. So let's play that out, right? Like if Hindley doesn't come and destroy Wuthering Heights, if Mr. Earnshaw lives longer and takes care of Cathy and she has a more stable jumping off point, maybe that is what Cathy does. But Cathy doesn't have a lot of options at this juncture because Hindley is running Wuthering Heights into the ground.
Absolutely. He's drunk and gambling and has mortgaged everything to the hilt.
The ground is crumbling beneath her feet when she is trying to make decisions about the future of her life. If she stays in Wuthering Heights with Heathcliff and tries to build things, or if she goes to America and things don't work out, she may come home and there may not be a home.
Right.
And I think these are important things that actually help me understand where Cathy's coming from.
I'm oversimplifying. It's a very difficult, I think, story and circumstance and set of characters. Like it's not simple.
No, I think it's actually, and this is where I want to put it back on Heathcliff. I think it's his big feeling, sort of the problem. She tells him, if you want me, you need to go make a fortune and come back, for all of these very practical reasons that I just laid out. I don't think she lays them out, but
she doesn't.
Heathcliff has to be a fool to not see what's happening. And he does see what's happening. We know that he does, because he ultimately comes back.
Yeah, and I don't think Heathcliff is a fool.
I don't think he's a fool at all. He's actually quite smart, but he allows his emotions to run him. Because had he just left for America, rather than waiting for her to say, listen, dude, I'm not waiting for you anymore. I need to move forward.
Oh, to be clear, all the problems that I have with Cathy, I also have with Heathcliff.
I guess what I'm saying is I have them more with Heathcliff.
Okay.
Because if he makes this decision and says, you know what? You're what I love. You're what I really care about. And you are what I am willing to earn. I'm going to go through the temporary pain and risk of losing you by leaving for America to make my fortune, which is uncertain. If he did that and then took that risk and came back, I think that Heathcliff lives a much happier life. I think he and Cathy have an opportunity to be together, but it's because he can't break himself free. He can't see that she's split between these two worlds. He's incapable of seeing it. He can only see her wild and passionate half. He thinks that the other half of her is fake.
Yeah.
And that's my question to you too, is like, do you think there's a more real half to Cathy?
It's so hard because she goes back and forth very quickly and very dramatically.
It feels like both occupy her at the same time.
Yeah, they both occupy her at the same time. And there is we don't see any of the middle. We only see her two extremes. And I think that the two men in her life represent those two extremes. And I don't know why that is, right? Like, do I think, like what you said, if her dad maybe lived a little longer, because he seemed to be a multifaceted individual, right? Who sort of
actually seemed
saw
like the most
world in a very grounded way.
Yeah, philanthropic. Well, now I'm struggling with it. Thanks, Oz.
Right, where he seemed to have an actual, imperfect, probably of its time, but a sort of soft spot for Heathcliff, some sort of care for Heathcliff, wanted something better for Heathcliff, seemed to care about his kids. If he would have stayed, and Wuthering Heights could have gone on being, this middle-class place that was pretty good, and that was the environment that she found herself in.
And that represented a stable,
and that represented
safety net.
Stability. Yeah. Then maybe her and Heathcliff could have settled into something kind of normal. That's obviously not what happened.
Well, no, the world becomes two extremes for her.
The world becomes two extremes, and then she just embodies those extremes. She doesn't regulate in any way. And the people around her don't encourage any sort of regulation. They just pull her in the two extreme directions, which I think is what then makes it hard for me to see this as a romance, right? Like, my impression of Wuthering Heights, having not seen it, not read it, was that it was like this romance for the ages. And I just don't connect to it because both versions of the romance are so extreme and unhealthy.
I mean, maybe that's where like I connected to it, is I didn't see it as a romance for the ages. I knew it was a romantic story, but I knew it was about like love denied. And I was so curious, okay, so what is it about this world that causes her to deny her love and her passion? And there are some very practical things that sort of break Cathy in a way that, I mean, she doesn't handle these issues healthy, but I don't think she had a therapist at the time.
Probably not.
To talk through some of these feelings and these conundrums that she was facing. But yeah, I don't think that it's a romance for the ages. I actually think that it says more about our like modern pull between that keeping up for the Joneses, that need to look the way people look on YouTube, that need to look the way people look on Instagram, that need to have a wealthier, more comfortable, albeit more vapid life, versus living sort of our true lives, our true selves, and sacrificing some of that comfort to be the more genuine versions of ourselves. And that for me was what really, really resonated, because you have two characters that are struggling so deeply with that, and that Heathcliff can only see his life with Cathy, so much so that he loses himself, and Cathy can't choose between two lives, and much so that she dies.
And they completely miss that love is deeper than a feeling, right? Like, love isn't a feeling. Love carries with it like responsibility and action and all of those things that just don't exist here.
No, absolutely not. And just getting back to that topic of like, which is her true side. And I think that this is an interesting connection to Oz. She ends up sort of visiting a fantasy land in her final moment.
Will you get me something?
What do you want, darling?
Heather. It's a beautiful patch near the castle. I want some from there.
Yeah, the castle. What castle, darling?
The castle on the moors, Edgar. Go there, please.
There's no castle on the moors, darling.
There is. There is. It's on the hill. Beyond Wuthering Heights.
What do you mean, Penistone Crag?
Yes. Yes. I was a queen there once.
This is moments before Cathy dies.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the world that she is now envisioning. We're inside of her head. And while we're not getting the Technicolor dreamscape of Dorothy, we understand that she is looking out onto a fantasy world in which Penistone Crag, a big rock jutting out of the ground, out on the moor, surrounded by heather, is now the castle that she imagined as a child. And that's where she wants to be. That's how she wants to die seeing that. And so the movie asks us this question: is it that comfortable life that you dream of having as your life, or is it that true version of yourself, that true passion, whatever you want to call it, the genuine Cathy that you see at your death? Which is the life better lived? Is it better to have no regrets on your deathbed, or better to live a comfortable life before you die with some regrets?
Yeah, and I think that's the tragedy of the story, right?
Oh my God, like, it kills. Yeah, it absolutely kills.
Because there's this alternate world where she is able to commit to Heathcliff and make some of those sacrifices. Now, he has to your point, I agree with you, like he has to do that too. He has to sort of step up and
he's too wrapped up in her. He can't do it.
Wrapped up. And I think that's what's so sad, right? Is that, again, I get so frustrated by this third way that just doesn't exist, which is where the sort of where I think I land is the more real love that she has for Heathcliff. Like that is deeper. It's based in human, like it's based in a person.
I mean, she can tell you why she loves Heathcliff. I think she can't answer that why
versus
and how
her attraction to oh my God, Edgar is very much in what Edgar is, not who he is.
Well, yeah, and I think it's okay to say she's not attracted to Edgar.
Yeah.
She can't describe her attraction or her love for him. She's attracted to his home and the comfort that they will provide.
She doesn't love Edgar. She loves the life that he can give her. She does love Heathcliff, but can't commit to that love because she would have to sacrifice this life that she desires. And the tragedy is that she can never find herself somewhere in the middle where she can have both.
Yeah.
And it would require calming down the wildness of her love with Heathcliff. It wouldn't be as comfortable as a life with Edgar, but it could be what Wuthering Heights was at the beginning of the movie.
The movie lands in a place that is, as we're talking through, like a very pro-capitalism, pro-United States message. And this is probably Goldwyn's. I know. I was like, this is why you should really like this movie. It's probably Goldwyn's hand on the scale a little bit because you see all that and you say, yes, you see that third way, right? But the reality is that third way is a really difficult leap for both of them to take. And at least for me, I understand the motivations of the character, why they don't take that third way. If this took place in the United States, in which there's a thriving middle class in 1939, supposedly, presuming there's no Great Depression.
Yeah.
Well, then this becomes an option. This actually allows Cathy to just follow her dreams. This allows Heathcliff to, open a small business and sell shoes or do whatever it is that he needs to do to begin to provide a life for Cathy in which she can then make that jump. But it's because it takes place in the 1840s in Yorkshire that this is what makes this split happen. And so this movie is positing a world in which if you just come to America, if you just believe in the capitalist dream, if you believe in the pull yourself up by the bootstraps, then you too can live your most genuine, passionate version of your life. And I really want to see the new Emerald Tunnel one because I wonder if it attacks any of these themes because we now live in a post-industrialized America. in which that is becoming less and less true by the minute.
I mean, I agree that's probably why it feels relevant, why we're doing this story again now, why Emerald Fennell's doing the story now, is this idea that, you know, somehow America 2026 has the same challenges that England in the 1840s or whatever had. I personally don't buy that, but I think that, you know, the sort of like millennial Gen Z like worldview very much does, and that is why, you know, our culture is going to embrace the story again.
For those of you who haven't picked it up after this many episodes, he's a capitalist. I'm a socialist. Sometimes we have different takes on our movies.
No, but yeah, I mean, I think that really is kind of the long and short of it here.
I think that messaging at the end of the movie feels a little icky to me, at least from my perspective. That trip to America, in which wealth is so easily acquired, it sort of just feels like this. See if he just done this, and I don't
think it's easy, but I think that her life ends tragically anyway. So why not take the risk?
But I'm saying when he goes, and it feels almost inevitable. Well, I left and I made a bunch of money and I came back because of course I did, because I went to America. Yeah. I think that's what I'm saying. It's like that is almost too easy, and
sure,
I think
that is a problem. Like him coming back wealthy is not explained and warranted some explanation for sure.
But it's a very pro United States message that I think is taking a crack at like European politics and European economics in this point, which in 1939, there's plenty of reason to be able to do that. But there's also plenty of reason to be critical of what's going on in the United States as well.
Sure.
And I think that there is a bit of pro-US propaganda that is just slipped into the film that presents itself as a solution, which is where maybe you're getting tripped up with the movie a little bit, which is like, you're like, this is this great third option.
Yeah. And I think it's the movie's sort of insistence on being straightforward in that way.
Yeah.
That bothers me.
It's one of the only things that's straightforward in the movie. Everything else about it remains complicated.
My third option is not magical. It's not easy. It's not perfect. It's that
it's a big risk.
The two options that exist end in tragedy anyway. And so I would take the messiness and the difficulty and the risk of that third option for its potential, because the potential otherwise doesn't exist at all.
And the message of the movie is, though, is how difficult is it to see that when you're 19, 20, 21 years old? I think the
movie doesn't wrestle with the complication either. I think that to your point, he goes to America, comes back wealthy. I think if the movie did explore the third option, it would be equally shallow. And that sucks.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that both were really good films. I enjoyed them both. I really enjoyed talking with you. Let's take a break. And then when we come back, we'll rate our films. And then we will get back to our regularly scheduled programming and be hopping back to post 1975. And you'll let everybody know where we're going.
I will.
We will be back shortly with more of the Screen Hoppers.
All right. Welcome back to the Screen Hoppers. I am Michael. I am here with Ian. We just had conversations that I really enjoyed about two movies from 1939, The Wizard of Oz and Wuthering Heights. We were just talking off camera. We need to disagree a little more often. It's fun.
It's a good time. I agree.
So this is the part where we're going to rate the movies. Our conversations went back and forth quite a bit, so maybe a little more challenging than normal to nail down exactly where we land on these movies.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure. I can usually guess what your rating is, but I'm not sure where you are on. I am going to assume.
I mean, you know where I am with Wizard of Oz, obviously.
I mean, you paid $100 to go see the Sphere.
I did.
So I assume you're going to 4K steelbook that.
I am, and so let's just jump right into this. We'll rate The Wizard of Oz. Yeah. I am obviously a 4K steelbook.
Yeah.
Of The Wizard of Oz. I'm a 4K steelbook and 5 worn out VHS tapes for The Wizard of Oz. It is a great movie. It is not a perfect movie. There is a lot to talk about. We talked about some of it. But it does just do so much well. It is perfectly 4-quadrant. It has great special effects, fun story, awesome musical numbers. The performances are great. Love the characters. And it's just such a fun time. It's crazy rewatchable. I love this movie.
I'm going to rent it.
You bastard.
I probably will never watch it again. I think that I had...
This is your last one?
This probably is my last one. I watched it once last year doing something similar, which I was like, why don't I love this movie more? I need to give it another shot. And I watched it, and I don't dislike it. It's not like I walk away going, I don't like this movie, but it doesn't feel four quadrant to me. It actually feels like if I were a child, I would enjoy it more. And I just, as an adult, there are just parts of it I don't like. I love the music. I love the weird little complicated things that I like pick at throughout the movie. But as a total film, it feels a little bit like homework to me.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I think it's like, yeah, if you haven't seen it for some reason, I don't know how that could have possibly happened to you at this point. Although,
almost everyone has, apparently.
Well,
so,
I was going to say, except that I know like younger generations, people slightly younger than us, seem to not have seen a lot of classic films. And so
that's sad.
I think that you should see it. Like it's important to understand film history. I think that there are things to be enjoyed within it. It is worth paying $3, $4, whatever, to see the remastered 4K. It looks really beautiful.
It does look really good.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a renter for me. It doesn't transport me, and I don't find it to be that rewatchable.
It's interesting.
I'll just listen to the music. Yeah. All right. So for Wuthering Heights, I'll go first since you went first.
Yeah.
On that one. Wuthering Heights for me is also a rent it.
Okay.
I really like Wuthering Heights. I do not have a desire to go back and rewatch it. I think watch it, enjoy it. It's a really complicated story. It's well acted. Some of the behind the scenes stuff is interesting when you know how much Olivier hated Merle. You can't help but like see it on screen. And I think that is a good time. But I think that it's messaging around, this choice that we have in our lives around following our dreams versus following sort of what's practical and comfortable. I think that it represents it in a way that is complicated and feels very real and relevant today. I think that it is an important story to tell. And I think it doesn't give easy answers, which is something I really appreciate about it. Yeah. And so I think it is something you should 100% watch. Don't wait for it to be on streaming, although it is currently streaming on Prime. And so you can check it out there. I'm sure it shows up on Canopy occasionally as well. Always check Canopy. If you don't know what that is, your library offers free movie rentals all the time. You should absolutely take advantage of that. And so, yeah, it's a rent it for me.
Yeah, Wuthering Heights surprised me a lot. It was not the movie I expected it to be at all. It's a difficult movie, which I appreciate about it. And for what you said, it poses this complicated choice and doesn't really give you the answers. And so it's also a rent it for me. I think like definitely watch this movie. I understand why this story and this movie have stood the test of time. I have no desire to watch it again.
I mean, I may one more time before I die, but so I can just dream of the fields of heather.
Sure. But I am very glad that I did watch it, and the conversation that came from us watching it together was really, really great. And so, yeah, I recommend the movie. Absolutely rent it. But it's tough in some really great ways.
It is. And, one thing I will say for this movie specifically, did not feel as much like homework as I thought a 1939 movie would.
No, it didn't feel like home. It was like work, but it wasn't.
Not in the
it wasn't
same
like
way.
An academic work.
No, it was work the way like an art house movie is work these days. It wasn't like, oh, I'm watching this movie because I should.
Right.
Yeah. No, it was genuinely enjoyable. It transported me. Like I was caught up in the story.
I mean, and it made me feel things. Oftentimes that thing was frustration, but I mean, that's still effective storytelling.
I was going to say it was a frustration not at the filmmaking, but at the characters.
No, of course not.
Yeah, and the difficulty that they were facing. All right, Michael, it is time to hop to our next weekend. We are getting out of 1939. We're getting back into our top 100 list. We are hopping to November 22nd of 2024.
Yeah, we are back to 24. And we are going to watch, appropriately, Wicked.
Number 100 on the list. Better grab it before it falls off.
Number 100, Wicked.
So what else was playing that weekend, Michael? Walk us through the top 10.
So as we said, Wicked was number 1 in its debut week, made over $100 million. It was joined in the multiplex by Gladiator 2, Red 1, a hard to pronounce one, Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin, Venom, The Last Dance, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, Heretic, The Wild Robot, Conclave, Smile 2, and a bunch of other stuff.
And what did you choose from that pretty solid slate of movies. I love a good November opening. We always have more interesting things.
November is fun because it is award season, so you get like a real variety of stuff because you get like the holiday movies where everyone's going, and then you get the more prestige stuff.
But you get a little 4-quadrant too because people are trying to still make that money on.
Yeah. Well, you have Wicked, which is both, right?
Yeah, it is both. So I assumed you were going to pick Smile too.
I have not seen Smile 1 or 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. Weird, because I do like horror movies, even if I'm not sure they're going to be good. I usually will watch them anyway.
I have seen Smile 1. I have not seen 2. I've heard it's better.
Oh, good.
I've heard it's better than 1. 1 was fine. It was a good idea that wasn't super well executed.
That happens a lot with horror movies, actually. And then the sequels actually come through and sometimes do the execution better.
Yeah, I think the practice helps.
Yeah. So I actually went way down the list. It wasn't one of the top 10 because it was award season. It meant that our favorite studios, Neon and A24, were very active.
Are those our favorite studios?
I think they usually are.
We're dorks.
I know.
It's embarrassing.
And I chose We Live in Time, which is it's a romance starring Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, 2 actors that I really like. It was a movie that at the time I was interested in seeing and somehow missed. And so having a good excuse to finally sit down and watch it, I'm going to take it.
I remember this movie coming out and I remember it just sort of vanishing into space. Like by the time I even considered seeing it, it wasn't in theaters anymore. It sort of like came and went.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I was really interested in seeing it. It's 2 people that I really like. It looked pretty good. And so I'm excited to actually watch it.
I'm going with number 7 on the list, Heretic.
I am so glad you picked Heretic.
This movie's been on my watch list for a long time. It just sits there on my playlist on HBO. I look at it and I'm like, is tonight the night to hit play? No, I have other things to do. And so finally I will hit play on it. This is Hugh Grant. God, I love Hugh Grant. Everything he's been doing for the last 10 years. If you have not seen Dungeons and Dragons, in which he plays an excellent villain, minor role, worth it. Probably the best movie that came out that year. So underrated. Have you seen Dungeons and Dragons?
I haven't, but I've heard nothing but good things.
I own it. We watched.
Buy it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We watched it on Prime twice, and I was like, we're gonna watch it more. It's so rewatchable. It is.
That's
fun, adventure, funny. Like it is the most 4-quadrant movie you can possibly imagine that is executed so well with really charming performances and great humor, and nobody watched it. But I'm all about Hugh Grant. Obviously, in Paddington 2, he's brilliant. And so I want some more, and I get some creepy Hugh Grant in Heretic. By the way, I don't know if you saw this in the news, and I know our episodes come out in 4 weeks, so this will be old news by then. But Universal is committed to 5-week theatrical runs throughout the remainder of 2026 and 7-week theatrical runs for 2027.
Oh, so they're doubling down.
They're recommitting to theaters.
Good.
And I'm quite excited about that. And I was thinking about it because I was saying about how We Live in Time was sort of there and gone again. And I'm hoping to see more movies lasting a little longer. When I actually finally decided I was going to go see Wuthering Heights this week, it wasn't in the theater anymore.
Oh, it's not.
It actually,
because that had legs.
It did.
For 2026 where nothing has legs.
Yeah. But by that point, it had already bounced out. And I was like, well, I guess I'm going to have to wait for it to come to streaming. So
that's great. I hope that Universal doing that actually puts pressure on the other studios. I know that theatrical releases were a big part of the Warner Brothers acquisition talks.
I know.
And so I'm thinking maybe Paramount will get the message from Universal and the theatrical experience will be protected for a little while.
Fingers crossed. Well, at any rate, next episode, we will be hopping to 2024. Our first episode in the miniseries, we will be watching We Live in Time and Heretic. Our second episode in the miniseries, we will then hop to the headliner Wicked. So it'll be a 2-part miniseries because we have found that fitting 3 movies into a single episode is hot nonsense. And we're going to stick to this format for the time being before we split it back up into 3 episodes again, because God damn it, what are we at now?
Because even 2 episodes, we just don't shut up even.
No, I mean, I'm seeing 2 hours on the recording deck. So.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Then let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you everyone for sticking with us, joining us on the Screen Hoppers. In the meantime, make sure and follow us at the Screen Hoppers. You can follow me at Michael_upleft. You can follow Ian and his cigar.
Do not follow my cigar at Ian_upleft.
Check out everything going on.
Felt too much like a Bill Clinton reference, man.
Oh, geez. That's not what I was trying to do. You just had the cigar in your hand.
Yeah, I know. That was the. Now I'm going to put it down. It feels dirty.
Oh, yeah. Check us out at upliftmedia.com. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and watch some movies.
We'll see you next time on The Screen Hoppers.
The Screen Hoppers is an Uplift Media production, written by Ian Tarter and Michael Smith. Produced, sound engineered, and edited by Ian Tarter, with special thanks to Rosie Page.